Welcome back. It is day 17 of Black History Month, where we celebrate Black History 365 and sometimes 366. Okay, so today I want to talk about the Civil War hero, Robert Smalls. Now, Robert Smalls is remarkable because he was born in slavery, escaped, became a hero, and then later served 5 terms in Congress. Now, he was born in Beaufort, South Carolina, on the McKee plantation to an enslaved mother, and then who else other than Mr. McKee, the slave master. Now, apparently, Mr. Smalls was too much for his slave-holding father, and so his father shipped him off when he was around 12 years old to work in Charleston, South Carolina. While in Charleston, he worked on the docks, worked on different ships, learning the waterways, learned how to navigate that very well, and eventually served and worked on a Confederate ship known as the Planter. And it was during his time working on the Planter that he concocted his idea to not just free himself, but also free the rest of his family. So in 1862, the Civil War is going on, and what normally happened is that this ship, the Planter, would dock, and the white crew members would leave and then leave the black workers, enslaved workers, there on the ship. And so Smalls had the idea, the brilliant idea, is like, you know what, when they're docking, they leave for the whole night, I bet you I can stick my entire family off on this ship. And that's exactly what he did. So in May of 1862, one night before the white crew members left, the black workers asked if they could have their families join them as long as they're gone before the crew members left or came back, which was not unusual. And the crew members said, of course, they can come on. And so the white crew members left for town for the night. And when they did, Robert Smalls dressed up like a captain and took over the ship. Now, because Smalls was obviously a bright man, he had memorized the Confederacy route and their signals, so he was able to imitate those and slowly make his way down the waterway. They actually were able to get through the night without being seen until about dawn. I think it was around dawn when the Confederacy was like, hey, what's going on here? So the Confederacy responded by firing into the ship, and then Robert Smalls had to sort of steer the ship towards the Union barricade. But because he was in a Confederacy ship, he obviously didn't want them to think that he was there to attack them, so he held out a white sheet as a sign of surrender. Thankfully, the Union Army did not fire at them, and when Robert Smalls managed to get the ship to the Union forces, it freed everybody on board. Now, the Union Army was so impressed with what Robert Smalls did that they actually ended up bringing him on to work in the Navy during the Civil War. And his knowledge of the waterways really gave the Union Army an upper hand in the battle. After the Civil War, because Robert Smalls was a fighter, he continued to fight for black rights, even during Reconstruction. He was elected to the South Carolina state legislature and then eventually served 5 terms in the U.S. Congress. But perhaps most remarkably, for me at least, is that he returned to the McKee plantation and bought the house.